But if you just looked at the label of Bottle 105, Wild Spirit Liqueur, you wouldn't know that it had that venerable history behind it. Hello and welcome to My Tiny Bottles, the project where I'm exploring my grandmother's legacy of miniature liquor bottles, a tiny bottle at a time. I'm your host, Tammy Coxon. It was way back in bottle 18, Original Canton Delicate Ginger Liqueur, that I first mentioned the company Charles Jaquin EC. Jaquin's, as it is better known, is one of the oldest liqueur producers in the U.S. They were founded in 1884, survived Prohibition by producing non-alcoholic cordials, and then came roaring back post-Prohibition. For a time, they were one of the world's leading producers of liqueurs and cordials. Their first triumph was gaining the rights to a legendary French liqueur called Forbidden Fruit in 1937. In 1982, they would use that product's distinctive packaging on a new creation, Chambord. This fruit liqueur would go on to be world famous, and Jaquin's would sell it to Brown-Forman for $255 million in 2006. I'm still waiting for a bottle of that to show up in the collection. Since Prohibition, Jaquin's has been in the hands of various members of the Cooper family, with responsibility passing down from father to son. Liqueurs are a family business. As I talked about in bottle 18, two of the best-loved liqueurs of the cocktail renaissance are creations of the Cooper brothers, Saint Germain by Rob Cooper and Domaine de Canton by John Cooper, who runs Jaquin's today. But if you just looked at the label of bottle 105, Wild Spirit Liqueur, you wouldn't know that it had that venerable history behind it. It claims to be produced and bottled by Worldwide Distillers of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, which is just one of many company names that are all ultimately connected to Jaquin's. It clearly is the product of a company that understands the power of marketing, though. The front label is filled with inspirational language. Pride and integrity, it says. Paddle your own canoe, instructs this 105-proof drink of the frontier. The back label is even better, with its whimsical tale of frontiersmen swapping stories around the fire that had me so amused when I unboxed this one in Reveal 20. At the end of the day, they would sit around a campfire. They had a special recipe of strong spirits, natural wild herbs, and a touch of fire-brewed cocoa. After a couple of drinks, they would share their adventures of the day. Yeah, I'm sure that's exactly how that happened. So what was this stuff? The bottle says it's a liqueur, but in advertising from its 1995 release, it's most often suggested as a substitute for vodka, with the recommendation to mix it with orange juice to make a wild OJ, which, the ad copy claimed, is better than a screwdriver. That comparison to vodka also shows up in an amazing 2001 review in the Portland, Oregon publication Willamette Week. I highly recommend you read the whole thing. I'll put a link in the episode notes because it is the kind of absolutely beautiful negative review that we just don't see much of anymore. I know, it's nicer to not say anything if you can't say something nice, but what if you could say something like this? And though the slight aftertaste of chocolate lingers like an ember in a prairie fire, Wild Spirit's closest neighbor is actually vodka. Of course, that neighbor lives halfway across the valley and would probably rather eat a bullet than pretend to know who Wild Spirit was. Other sources describe it as a chocolate raspberry schnapps, and at least some people remember it fondly. There are sites online with people looking to find it, and unopened bottles claim pretty good prices on auction sites. It was originally bottled at 105 proof, but like so many other liqueurs, the proof dropped over time. By the time of that 2001 review, it was down to 90 proof. And although I have never found any evidence that it has been produced, they did register a label for a 17.5% ABV version in 2015. My bottle is most likely from right around the product's release in 1995, since it's still at 105 proof, and the embossing on the bottom of the bottle indicates that the bottle was manufactured in 1994. It took me some research to figure out that Wild Spirit was a Jaquin's product. The trademarks are held by Chatham International Corporation, of which Jaquin's is a wholly owned subsidiary. That company was created in the wake of a whole bunch of scandals in the 1970s, when Jaquin's was the target of an SEC investigation that uncovered bribes to the state liquor board and other officials, illegal payments to family members, and all sorts of other shenanigans. In the end, the company sold its assets to the newly created Chatham International Corp., whose president and largest shareholder was Norton J. Cooper, the president of Jaquin. Which I have to say does not make it seem less shady. Diving into the details of the various accusations against the company and the subsequent expose of massive corruption at the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board was pretty captivating reading for me, but perhaps a bit in the weeds for an episode. But between all that and the commentary about Wild Spirit itself, I am pretty excited to taste this one. I just have to find that right Wild Spirit to share it with. Do you remember Wild Spirit? Tell me all about it in the comments or on social media at MyTinyBottles on Instagram or Facebook, or at TammyLC on Blue Sky. I'd love to hear from you. Also, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. It's what wild spirits like us do. Cheers.